Hi, everyone. My name is Clare Fox, and I'll be your host on today's Behind the Business. I am a social media and strategic partnerships rep based in Nashville, Tennessee, and have been on the team for over a year now. If you're new here, 1824 is Universal Music Group's culture marketing and content strategy team, focused on the connection of artists and brands directly to fans through storytelling and experiences. Our offerings include content creation, ideation, social media, creator partnerships, experiences, digital marketing, PR, and live streaming with UMG's official Twitch channel 3.5. I am super excited to introduce to you our amazing guest today, Taylor Hornecker. For the past 8 years, Taylor has driven content and social strategy for Universal Music Group and Universal Music Publishing Group, growing each account's social followings to new heights. Beyond the label world, she serves as the social media director for She Is the Music, a global nonprofit dedicated to increasing opportunities and equality for women across all facets of the music industry. Her past brand experiences include work with major global names like Fiat, CoverGirl, and other brands. Taylor, thank you so much for joining us today. How are you
Hi,
doing?
Claire Bear.
Hello, my love. I'm so excited to be talking with you today.
Me too. This is going to be so much
Ugh,
fun.
this is so exciting. We've got some great questions lined up for you, but for everyone watching, please be sure to drop your questions in the chat and we'll pull a few as we go. All right, so to kick things off, can you tell us a little bit about what your role as Director of Communications for UMG looks like day to day?
Yeah. So my I feel like my title sometimes is a little misleading. I sit on a communications team, but I serve as the head of social media. So I'm sort of a unicorn on my team.
Mhm.
My team is a lot of, they handle a lot of media, press. And so I really am driving the content strategy and a lot of the external messaging, a lot of what the consumers are seeing across social media, which is just as important, if not more important these days, I feel, in the digital landscape. I feel, less people are reading press releases and long form articles, and they're getting their news from, a tweet or what they see on social media. So that's really my drive, is driving the narrative across socials for our company, for our artists, and driving sort of the company culture and how that translates in digital as well.
Totally. And you do such an amazing job of that. And we'll definitely be getting into the social strategy and storytelling that you do such an amazing job of for UMG. But for to start, to give everyone context, you've been at UMG for nearly a decade now, which is absolutely incredible. What first drew you into the music industry and what has kept you passionate about it?
I think this is something that I've always known was my purpose. Ever since I was
Mhm.
a little girl, I was obsessed with music. I'm an only child, and so music for me was sort of how I occupied my time. When I was young, I had a karaoke machine in my room.
Oh, I love that.
I would hyperfixate on albums. And
Mhm.
so I always knew that music was my true love. And I really wanted to make that my career. And so I took all those, baby steps to get here. And I truly feel like this job was made for me, which is why I've been here as long as I have, because it really molds together my love of music and, the craft that I have worked so hard to develop over the last, I won't tell you how many years.
I mean, absolutely incredible. And I can just like tell the passion through the screen, even through like an email chain, through everything. Like you just kind of pour your heart and soul into this job and it really shows. And I'm so excited to be just picking your brain today. So one thing you've done so well, obviously, like we mentioned, is making storytelling feel authentic and relatable across all UMG channels. What is your process for translating such a big brand like UMG into something that resonates with fans?
I really try to ground everything into storytelling over marketing. Consumers don't always resonate with corporate messaging. So really trying to find ways to connect with them through emotion and access. I often stop and think, like, how can I humanize this moment and make somebody feel something? and really it's pushing through humanizing the brand through the lens of our artists, our songwriters, our company culture, and sort of the, our artists are shaping culture across the world. And so we're using them as a means of really telling our story.
Totally. Ugh, and I can absolutely feel
Yeah.
that. And also, congratulations on hitting 1 million followers on Instagram. That's amazing. What do you think really helped you build that community and kept people engaged through both like storytelling, like you talked about? What were other some strategies that you implemented with that?
It was a huge, huge milestone. When I first started, I think we had 50,000 followers.
Whoa, I did
Yeah,
not know that. That's
yeah.
crazy.
I mean,
Oh my
it
gosh.
took me 7+ years to hit that, but it was,
But still.
yeah, it's amazing. There was a few things. I think really having a purposeful strategy was really important, and I think something that wasn't there before I came in. Having an intentional mix of these, you know, artist moments mixed with company culture, while also like leaning into trends, like
Mhm.
through over the course of the last, of my career here, the social media ecosystem has changed so much, and it has to our benefit in the music industry in the sense that music has really become a cornerstone on these platforms. We can now add songs to our posts. We can now
Mm.
search for content through songs and seeing, who all is creating content around these songs and these moments and these viral trends. So leaning into that while not losing our corporate tone of voice and our narrative is important. Hitting 1 million followers is amazing, and it's not just about, it's about building trust and community, and a community of global fans across the world, and really trying to create content that resonates with different fan bases while, still feeling relevant and fresh to, different territories and different countries around the world. Another big thing that I think really helped us hit 1 million is collaboration. And that
Mm.
is in the terms of really, I worked really hard to interconnect all of our different departments and aspects. It's our label partners, our impact partners. So we partner with a lot of, we partner with the Mental Health Coalition,
Mhm.
Headcount for voting initiatives, 1824 and 3.5, while
Mhm.
also finding really great collaborative opportunities with our global territories. So I think that the collaboration tool on Instagram was like a very helpful thing because it helped us be able to collaborate better across all global territories, across all label partners, and then with our external partners as well. And it also just helped us showcase that like we are a unified organization and that we're not working in silos. And a lot of people don't understand how the label system works, and that
Mhm.
Universal really is a parent company of all of these different record labels. And so really trying to showcase that in a cool way, and that all of the work that we are doing across every label, across every country, and helping to amplify and build the careers of these amazing artists that are touching people all over the world.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it is just such a multifaceted company. And again, like you were saying, people don't really realize that. So you do such a great job of incorporating collaboration and everything into the page. And you kind of touched on this a little bit, but how do you personally stay like current with platform updates, trends, and the ever evolving landscape of social media as someone like who that is like your day-to-day job is you got to keep up with it, and like how do you also implement that into like the big like corporate UMG pages, like is there a difference with that? Like do you have kind of a code switch? How does that work?
I treat social media, like, it's a living, breathing ecosystem that is always
Totally.
changing, always evolving, and not ever getting too set in my ways. And,
Hmm.
platforms are always offering, new tools, cool ways of sharing things, new content updates. So, staying on top of that, staying really plugged in. I'm part of some creator communities.
Hmm.
I follow a lot of educational Instagram feeds that, so when I'm doom scrolling at night, I'm also like educating myself, keeping myself up on some of these new tools and new
I love it.
happenings, new trends. Um,
Hmm.
and it's always just trying new things. With socials,
Hmm.
it's trying to figure out a way to hack the algorithms, and a lot of times I kind of say it's like throwing spaghetti at a wall to see what sticks. But you got to
Yep.
just try new stuff. And especially
Hmm.
I found that when a platform offers new tools or cool, like, you can add a sticker, or
Hmm.
those kinds of things, is really playing into those things, testing them out, trying new formats, that will play into those algorithms, because I find that when you do that, the algorithms and the platforms really do, reward you for using their
Hmm.
new add-on, bits. So it's just
Totally.
it's really trying, and not, you just, it's an ever evolving role. And what I used to do and my strategy 5 years ago is tremendously different from my strategy I use today.
Totally. I love the throwing spaghetti at the wall. Like that is so true. Even just being on the social media team for like over a year now, I totally feel that. Like sometimes some things will hit and then like something will change in the algorithm and then oh, but that's no longer working. So just being able to like work on your feet all the time and be ready for the next thing is super important. And
Yeah,
I'm glad you feel that same way
you
too.
can spend days and hours creating content that
Yep.
is going to get 200 views, and
Hmm.
sometimes like a 6-second clip
Yep.
that you just like offhand post gets a million views, and you're just like, you don't know sometimes the rhyme or the reason behind it.
Exactly. I feel like that is what happens a lot. It's like the throwaway videos that I'm almost like, should I post this? Like, is this even going to be good? That's always what does really
You
well.
just
And
got
it's
to
like,
try. You
you
just
never
got to
know.
try.
Exactly. You just got to
You
follow your
can
gut
always
and try it
archive it.
out.
You can always archive it later.
So true. It's so true. I love that. It's never up there forever. Yes. Oh, absolutely. Okay, to pivot a little bit, you work across both UMG and UMPG, which gives you a super unique perspective. How does your approach to storytelling differ between label and publishing worlds?
So the UMG side, it's really about the performer, right? We're on the
Mhm.
recorded side. So
Totally.
it's about the moment, the performance. On UMPG, it's more about the craft behind the songs. On publishing side, I'm a little bit more, the content's a little bit more educational and like narrative focused. We really try to
Hmm.
like celebrate collaboration on the publishing side, the songwriters, the role that our A&Rs play in, the songwriting process.
Hmm.
It's so great because, I feel so lucky from the UMG side, because I'm not put in a corner of just having a specific roster of artists that I'm focused on. I'm able to
Hmm.
really touch all of, every artist on every label. So it's really trying to stay on the pulse of what these big moments are. A lot of times we find, it's a big show that happened this weekend, and there was a big
Hmm.
special guest, or these, award shows. It's on the UMG side, it's a lot of the artists, the performance, and then also focusing on company culture where we can, and driving forth the amazing work we do throughout this company on a global scale.
Totally. I love that. And I really love the like series that you do on UMPG with the like story of a song. I think that just like illustrates perfectly about like highlighting, the story behind the song and highlighting the A&Rs and, just like the process behind that. And you're also in such a unique position, like you were saying, to highlight artists across all the labels, which I think is really awesome. You've been really intentional, again, about highlighting songwriters and their stories, which often gets overlooked in the industry. Why was that focus important to you, and how have you used social media to elevate their voices?
I think that songwriters are really the heartbeat of the music industry, and oftentimes they're just invisible in the digital space.
Mm-hmm.
So I really wanted to change that by making songwriters like aspirational and accessible. So showing the process, the songwriting process, again, collaboration is key, and really highlighting, all that goes into writing a song and the creative process and these aha moments that lead us to these amazing songs that we love and that connect with us and that, make us feel something and shape,
Mm-hmm.
it's really, I love telling the story of songwriters. And I find that songwriters are such gracious people. They appreciate when we do when we show them love on socials. They
Mm-hmm.
share more. I always, it's like they really see the value, and I like to use UMPG's platforms to help build up those songwriter platforms as well, doing collab
Mm-hmm.
posts and telling their story and helping them build up their pages because, you know, whether we like it or not in this digital space, it's important for these people that are being put in these songwriting rooms to have, to have a good amount of followers and to have it make a name for themselves. And really, it's in 2025, social media is really how you do that. And
Mm-hmm.
their job is songwriting. They're not TikTokers. They're not always
Right.
creators. So I like to
Mm-hmm.
be able to offer as like a value add to our songwriters is creating this content that helps share their story and their narrative so that they can focus on the song and not on having to always, think about the next TikTok video they're going to make.
Totally. You're exactly right. And I loved what you were saying that songwriters are just so gracious because I definitely feel like that. I mean, like living in Nashville and going to school in Nashville, it's like songwriters are just everywhere. And I love the fact that you're just able to highlight them and like give them that space because I feel like for so long, like, before I was even working in the music industry, I never even thought like, oh, there's someone else, like a whole team of people writing these songs, or, this person is writing songs for all these different artists. I never even like thought about it in that way. So the fact they're able to highlight that is amazing. And especially having UMPG as your platform for that is really awesome.
Yeah, I'm obsessed with
Um,
songwriters,
yeah.
honestly. Like
Oh,
they're
they're the
just
best kind of people.
I could just sit and have, deep convos and ask about, how did this song come to be, or tell me about that
Yes.
session, or this
Hmm.
lyric, or what was the process. I'm so fascinated by that, and I just love being able to share those stories with the world.
Yeah, it's truly fascinating because like that's their life. It's all about the song. So they could sit down and talk about it for hours. It's like I love it.
Yeah.
Oh, it's incredible. Okay, we have two questions from the chat. If we could all let's we got three. All right, first one is from Sanaya. She says, I have to head out shortly, but when it comes to social media and internet trends constantly changing, what is it like managing that with such a large platform and maintaining the company's branding and authenticity?
I think it's about finding a balance between being proactive and reactive. And I
Hmm.
think that's like been a really big thing for me in learning how to do that. Um, there are things that we can foresee and that we know are coming up and that we can control and that we can create content around proactively. And
Hmm.
so, and then there's a trend that hits or a viral moment that we make space for. And so every day, I have a content calendar and I focus on it on a weekly basis and then break it down by day. And every day I have already a handful of posts locked in for, new music that's out now, things that we know about. And then there's also room in that calendar every single day to take a step back, look at what these big key moments are in culture and that are happening throughout, with our artists, and making sure that we have space and time in our day to be able to put towards, those reactive moments. And if you are efficient and quick, and you jump on some of these trends and highlight these things, is when you really can find the magic and hit those big numbers. And I think some of the most successful posts that we have are some that have not been planned, but have been things that we've had to create and develop on the fly, and really quick, which again is like the throwing spaghetti at the wall. Is like sometimes it's the
Yes.
quick piece of content that's going to overperform over the super planned out bits.
I totally agree. I feel like the real-time content is also always what hits on our page as well.
Yeah.
Like the things that you don't expect to, but like you'll throw together in like 10 minutes, and you, as long as you're the first person to do it and you do a good job of it, like usually that is what does really well. But yes, I love that. Another question we had was from Illusion Hill Salex. Okay, it says, when developing an artist's social presence, what are the most common mistakes that you see people make early on?
I think it's about, I like to think, and again, I'm not driving forward artists' socials. I'm
Right.
running UMG and UMPG's socials.
Hmm.
So I'm less ingrained into the day to day of developing artists. But of course, because this is the space that I'm in, it's something I am fully immersed in every day, watching these artists grow, their brands, their sound, and how they show up, and how that all translates in the digital space.
Hmm.
I wouldn't say anything is really wrong. Everyone is just trying their best. And again, these artists are artists. They're not creators in every
Right.
aspect. And so I would give any artist grace, because in this day and age it's so hard for them to have to create this music and develop their art form, while also being pressured to create content and make build a fan base on socials. So everybody is just trying the best they can. I would say, like, having a clear vision for yourself as an artist, and and a formula for sort of rollout strategies for when you're releasing music, is key in keeping those things up
Hmm.
and really engaging. And I think having showing access and giving access to fans, and having your, like, I always think with certain content, it's like, what's in this for the audience, not always being so self-serving, but giving
Hmm.
giving the audience something, whether that's like a behind the scenes moment, some exclusive content, a Q&A live, a touch point to really help build a connection with that artist.
Totally. I mean, at the end of the day, fans just kind of want to be seen and heard, but are also going to be kind of grateful for whatever you give them. And I agree with what you're saying. Like, I applaud just any artist out there doing the work with social media, because I feel like that is a very recent, like, basically new job thrown on them. They're like, I'm just usually out here like trying to play music and write music, and now I have to like be doing social media on top of it. So, whatever way that artists feel are best for them and resonate with their audience, and especially like having teams behind that, and also again, like with artists at UMG, like having that platform, be supported as well is really great. But yeah, that was a great answer. We have another really great question from the chat from Hannah. And I feel like I'm still trying to figure this out myself, is how do you prioritize your mental health while having to scroll on social media so frequently for work?
Um, well, it helps that I love my job.
Very true.
There could be a lot worse careers, I think, for myself personally, where I would
Totally.
dread those things. But
Uh-huh.
because I love what I do so much, and I love the music, it really doesn't
Hmm.
feel like a job, and it doesn't feel taxing on my mental health. I mean,
Hmm.
I I've been doing this for a long time, and just like everyone else, I will have a doom scroll at the end of the day.
Right.
Um, it's just that I'm tailoring that to my career and in music. So
Mhm.
I don't really find that social media affects my mental health really. I think that
Mhm.
because I love my career and I love what I do, I it just kind of comes naturally to me, and finding that balance. Now, of course, it's great to unplug. I love to take a
Right.
vacation. um, I would like to. I do have an agency that helps. That's been helpful
Mhm.
this whole time. Shout out CrowdSurf and my team over
Shout
there.
out. Mhm.
They've been amazing, and they really help bring a lot more balance into my life, and not having to do a lot of, people underestimate how long it takes to actually get a post up.
Right.
Like adding the song, making sure the song is at the right point, it's at the right volume,
Mhm.
making sure that everybody's properly tagged, that there's a nice
Yes.
custom thumbnail, that it shows up nice in feed.
Yep.
And so I think that what's really helpful for me in making my job a little less stressful is having a team that helps, frees up some of my time to do some of the bigger thinking things, and I don't have to
Mhm.
focus a lot of my time on some of those like menial tasks of getting something posted across a channel 50 times a day. So shout out
Totally, because
CrowdSurf.
that is yeah, shout out CrowdSurf because that is a very, like, tedious part of the job that sometimes can stress me out, especially if it's, like, such, like, a high level post or something, like, you cannot mess up a tag, you can't mess up you
Yeah.
gotta do it right, so that is really awesome, but I love that you said that it does like, you love your job, and at the end of the day, like, it doesn't really stress you out. I think that's, like, a great mindset to have, because I feel like for me, I guess what I struggle with is, like, doing both. I'm like, okay, am I in the mindset of scrolling for work right now? But then sometimes I get distracted and I'm just like doom scrolling on my own. And maybe my like TikTok feed isn't all just music. It's like random things. And then I get in a random rabbit hole. So I think just trying to like find the balance of, where my head's at is really important. And I
Yeah.
think that's great that you've like been in the industry for a second. So you've probably like gotten your footing, you have your routine, and you like kind of know where your head's at when scrolling. So I hope to be like that one day, and I will get there.
You
But
will.
again, oh,
My
thank
little
you. But
prodigy.
yeah. Oh, stop. This is mother. This is my mother. Oh, amazing. Okay, so pivoting just a little bit from the chats, you've worked a lot with UMPG Chairman and CEO Jody Gerson, who's been such a force for women in music. How has her leadership influenced you personally and professionally?
Well, for those of you who don't know who Jody Gerson is, she is the coolest woman in the world.
Mhm.
She is the highest standing woman in all of the music industry, which is such an inspiration to me. It's
Yep.
such an honor to have her as a mentor. She has shaped me in so many ways, and it's been so formative for me in my career and watching how she leads. She leads with empathy and conviction, and it's not just, you know, it's rare for a leader of that stature to really, be empathetic and lead the way that she does. I also think that, she's a huge advocate for women, and
Mhm.
not just in words, but in the infrastructure that she's created around her. She builds, building opportunities for women, funding programs like She Is a Music, which I'm sure we'll get into
Mhm.
here soon, but is
Yes, we will.
an organization that is near and dear to my heart. And she really, you know, walks the walk and is making space and building opportunities for women in this industry. So it's been such an honor to work with her.
Oh, that's absolutely incredible. And from someone who doesn't even know her, like, on a personal level, I can feel all the ways that you were describing her fully. I remember Jennifer from UMPG spoke
Hmm.
at our last invitationals, and I was like so drawn in by her presence as well. And she was talking so highly of Jody. So I did a little deep dive after invitationals and became like obsessed with the two of them. And then later with Grammy U, I was able to go to the Clive Davis Awards. And then I met Jody in the bathroom afterwards because she got honored. And I was like, oh my gosh, she felt like a celebrity in front of my eyes. I was like, this is the coolest thing ever. So I love that she has played such a huge part in your life and your career, and that's just incredible to
Yeah,
hear. And
it's amazing
yes,
the culture that she's been able to create, and
yes,
I feel it from everybody that works at
mm-hmm.
publishing is that we all are feel very lucky to have such a thoughtful, kind
Mm-hmm.
leader who really is empathetic towards everything and really, she pushes us for sure. And she
Totally.
wants the
Mm-hmm.
best for us and she wants the best for her company and she believes in it all.
Mm-hmm.
So
Oh, that's amazing. And like you said, she co-founded She Is the Music, and you serve as the content creator or
yeah.
for She Is the Music. Can you tell us a little bit about your role there and how that organization is creating an impact for women in the music industry?
Yeah. So She Is the Music was formed. It was a partnership between a handful of very impactful women in the music industry, including Alicia Keys,
Mm-hmm.
and her executive producer and engineer Ann Mincielli, total badasses.
Oh yeah, that is stacked. It's
Yeah.
crazy.
So it was developed really to help build opportunities for women in music and to help drive up some of these numbers of whether it's the number of songwriters and producers that are on these major songs, really behind the boards and in the boardroom as well. And so they really have, they developed She Is a Music. So it's a
Mhm.
nonprofit. I serve as the content director, and my job is to shape the voice and the visibility around all the opportunities that we are giving for these women, and part of that is highlighting the work that we do. With that is like mentorship programs. We host
Mhm.
songwriting camps all across the country, where it's just all female songwriting camps, and it's been
Mhm.
really inspiring to be in some of those rooms to see how these women, when you're a woman and you're writing in a room typically full of men, and then when you're
Mhm.
writing within a room full of women who have a common shared experience, it's a really
Mhm.
beautiful thing. I see that they let their guards down a lot more, and it's such a beautiful collaborative experience to witness.
Mhm.
What I love most is that it really is driving that tangible change in the industry. And from a content standpoint, every post that I get up or create is really showcasing that change, whether it is like, it's really the progress in action, right? So it's
Definitely.
showcasing these moments of, you know, Grammy wins. I know like last year was like producer of the year, songwriter of the year was for
Mhm.
like one
Miss
of the
Amy
very,
Allen.
yeah, Amy Allen was like the
Mhm.
first one of the first females to win that award. And so we find those
Mhm.
like key moments to really highlight and showcase the wins of these women in the industry, and really have built a beautiful community there. And I think that everyone has a common denominator, and the I've built that channel. I think we're at like 65,000 followers, and I built that from the
Mhm.
ground up from zero.
Incredible.
And the community there is just so beautiful because it's people from executives that are following and commenting and sharing and engaging, and it's
Mhm.
also college students and young people who, you know, if you can't see it, you can't be it. And I like to use that platform as a way to showcase a lot of the different roles that are possible in the careers that are possible in the music world, and showcasing some of the cool people and the cool women that are excelling and doing a great job in their different roles.
Oh, that's absolutely incredible. And even just by looking at the She Is the Music page, you can tell just how intentional everything is and just how everyone's truly passionate to just lift each other up, which I think is so needed in the industry today. And I just love everything that you guys are doing. Like, seriously,
The comment section in the She Is Music posts are some of my favorite things to
it's
dive
so
into.
empowering. Yes. It's just so sweet to see like everyone be in that space together. And especially since like the people running it, like you, are like in a completely other different full-time role. Like that always kind of blows my mind too of being able to balance both of those. But you're doing this because you're passionate about it and you want to support women. And this is just such like a great community for that. And the fact that you guys were able to start that and continue to build that up is really admirable. It seems like such a great space to be a part
Yeah,
of.
it's amazing. It's amazing to be a part of, and I love being able to really change the industry in that way.
Yeah. That is absolutely incredible. Okay, so we have some more chatters asking some questions.
Bring it on.
Let's see. So, Snackery says, how much do you lean on your team to stay up to date with trends in addition to being tapped in yourself?
I think it's a equal balance. I think we're always, my algorithm is different from somebody else on my team, and so I think a lot of it is when we're scrolling, we're seeing potentially different things. Um,
Hmm.
and so it's flagging and it's communication. So one of the ways that we work is that I have a text thread for UMPG and a text thread for UMG,
Hmm.
and my team's on both sides. And that is going from the time I wake up to the time I go to sleep. And you know, we are always saying, hey, like this could be interesting for TikTok, or let's get a
Hmm.
tweet up about this. I'm also a very, it's like I find, especially on the publishing side, is that the A&Rs are working directly with their writers and their artists, and they will flag something big, or like this songwriter is having a moment with this song is trending on TikTok. How can we then back into that and tell a story about that songwriter and the song that's blowing up, to really,
Hmm.
like, bring our vision to life and lean into that trend, while also keeping that narrative of telling the songwriter story. So it's a mix of it's a collaborative effort across the board, both my team and then
Hmm.
leadership. I've got Jody in my DMs every day sending me something.
Stop.
Like, it's
She's got
collaborative.
ideas.
Yeah, like,
Right.
so it's great, and you just gotta, again, be proactive and then leave room for being reactive to those moments from a across the company spectrum.
Totally. Proactive and reactive is like the perfect way to describe working in social media. And the collaboration part of it all is super important. And I even feel that like being on the 1824 social team, like it's fun having everyone like bring on their different ideas, and like having their perspectives. But also like working for the same common goal. I feel like that's always what makes the best part of like a social team. And, you know, it's it's awesome. I love it. Um, I'll say, let's see. We have another question from the chat. What has been the most exciting project in the past 2 years that you've gotten to work on, and what did it teach you?
Hmm. I think, you know, I really love working on. So every year we have a big Grammy party. We have a
Hmm.
big Grammy showcase every year, and it's always a highlight of my year of, you know,
Fun.
being able to, especially at our artist showcases, is where our labels come together and they
Hmm.
showcase one or two of the biggest artists, developing artists that they have on their roster. And it allows us it's a very small room that these showcases happen in. Maybe
Hmm.
200 people are invited. And so being able to create content around that and having this exclusive access to artists and is always one of my highlights every single year. And then our Grammy
Hmm.
party, it's like it's the party of the year, and so
So fun.
it's always so beautiful. And my team, does such an amazing job at building out these just absolutely stunning events. And so being able to showcase the work that my team does and making that all translate on social and giving that exclusive look at our party and the step and repeat and the entrance and just the
Hmm.
grandiose of it all is like always one of my highlights every single year. Being able to showcase the amazing work we do around the Grammys and lifting our artists up, and it's always fun. You never know who's going to show up.
Exactly. Oh, that sounds amazing. It just feels like a big celebration of everything across the whole year. So
Yeah.
it must be so rewarding for that. We have a question from Wes Davenport in the chat. Shout out, Wes.
Hey,
He
Wes.
said, Hi, Wes. You kind of touched on this earlier about, following a lot of like different accounts. So, like for inspiration to keep up with news. What are some of your favorite accounts to follow? They can just be ones to look for work inspiration or just for fun in general.
Um, of course, it's always important when you're in socials to follow the actual platforms. So, like, I always find like I have to follow Instagram on Instagram,
Right.
and they
Of
are
course.
usually very good about, um, you know, having updates. And a lot of the platforms will have sub accounts for creators. It'll be like Instagram for
Mhm.
creators or Meta for artists or Spotify for artists. And
Mhm.
I like to tap into some of those more niche accounts that are focused on those platforms from especially music. Um,
Mhm.
I also just I like to follow a lot of music accounts and a lot of like music publications. I think that there are a lot of publications that are doing such a great job in elevating the voices of these artists. From a like strategy standpoint, there's a channel called like Reels Trends that I
Mhm.
like, I love, and a lot of these creator accounts that go into depth about how to edit something, cool forms for editing, um, different trends and how to jump on them. I sign up for a bunch of creator newsletters, even though like I am not a personal creator. I'm creating for
Mhm.
UMG and UMPG. It's keeping up on some of these like creative tools and
Mhm.
cool new fresh ways to edit things and film things while also like learning about different trends and tapping into like what are the trends behind these songs. I think like a good example was the Unfortunately I Do Love, and it was like Joe Walsh
Uh-huh.
song goes to it. And so like it's there are lots of different accounts that really kind of dive into, they're not just posting the trend, but they're giving insight around use this song, think about it this way. Reels Trends is one page that I do really like.
Reels trends. I'll have to write that down. This is like great pieces of advice because it's always fun just following those accounts for like advice to keep up with the news, like going on to keep up with all the new updates, because sometimes like something get lost in the
Yeah.
sauce a little bit, So these are
I
great to
also I
know.
also find like a lot of agencies, like small agencies or
Hmm.
like a lot of freelance social people, I follow them a lot because
Yeah.
they are really carving out a niche for themselves, and I commend them for doing it on their own. But
Hmm.
seeing some of the work that they do and showcase on their pages from their agency is also like
Totally.
really educational and helpful.
Hmm. Just constantly staying educated and soaking up all that information is like very good to do to stay up
Yeah,
to
I
date.
love
So
anybody that's like
I love that.
lifting the veil off of
Yes,
social. It's not just like here's my like
totally.
very curated piece of content, but it's like here's how I got
Yes.
here, and
Hmm.
like here are some cool things to think about how to edit and create
Hmm.
and capturing these moments and how it feels relevant to my life or for us in a company perspective.
Totally. It keeps it real, and sometimes my brain doesn't even go in those places, so to see someone really break it down,
Yeah,
I love. And I also love, like, when people highlight those, like, more developing artists, like, we talk about Venice music a lot at 1824, even just talking about, like, artists' rollout strategies and things
I
like
love
that.
that
It's just,
account.
like, it's so good. Yeah,
Yeah,
I think that Wes shout out Wes again. Wes showed us that account, and, like, I've been obsessed with following along with it. Just
yeah,
any account that just,
that is
like,
that is a
lifts up
good
other
one. Shout out
creators,
Wes.
artists. Yeah, shout out. He's always given the good recs. I
Yeah.
love it. Uh, we have the chat is popping off. Let's see. We've got a question from Susie. What are some of the challenges you've encountered in your work, and how have they shaped the way you approach projects or leadership?
I think, you know, I think probably the biggest challenge for me and the big lesson that I've learned is, especially with leadership, is sometimes leadership can get a little nervous about social media because
Right.
it's like, what is the narrative we're putting out? And like, so a lot of times we have to be quick to things, and there are a lot
Hmm.
of moving parts and, you know, relationships that are happening behind the scenes. And so it's really been, I think the challenge for me has been building trust with leadership in
Hmm.
terms of social media and really letting me, and they've been great, and I think that was sort of the struggle at the beginning of my career, but
Hmm.
it's building trust with leadership so that they know that you are the person that is tapped into what's happening across social, and that you're going to put the best foot forward and create the most beautiful content and make everybody like, you know,
Hmm.
just let the company shine in the best way possible. So it's really been like learning how to break down social media into layman's terms for
Hmm.
leadership who doesn't, that's not the space that they're in. They don't, we eat, breathe,
Right.
and sleep this. They do not. And
Hmm.
so there are a lot of things that they don't always understand. And so it's having to, explain and break things down so that they fully understand the impact that social has. And I think I touched on this before, is like, we're putting out, there's a whole press side of the business and media
Totally.
relations, and it's really showcasing that like social is just as important, and that, when we post something and it gets 500,000 views, that is just as impactful, as, an article in a magazine or a publication. And
Hmm.
so I think that it's really just been having them understand that and see the value in socials from a, corporate standpoint.
Absolutely. And gaining that trust is like the way to go,
Yeah.
definitely, because sometimes it's just so out of people's realms, especially for like executives and maybe people who didn't like obviously grow up with that. So I think that's really awesome to be able to showcase that and explain it, because it is such like a big part of our world today. I mean, especially in the music industry, like it reaches so many people. Like never before can you post a video and it get 500,000 views within like a day, like you
Yeah.
were talking about, it's just it's an incredible tool, and to be able to utilize that and like showcase that to other people who might not understand is definitely,
Yeah.
I applaud you for that.
Thanks.
Another Hey, you're welcome. Another question from the chat is from Size Kraz. Sorry if I mispronounced. Because you've worked with various companies, are there any tips and tricks that you're able to take from one company to help guide you to the next?
I think I think that in my past role before UMG, I worked with a lot of directly with a lot of music artists, and
Hmm.
building out their posting schedules and things like that. And I think it's really hard. I learned to get to get an artist or somebody of a very high stature to post exactly what you want them to post at the exact same time that you want them to
Right.
post. It's
Almost impossible.
Yeah, it's like you can lead the horse to water, but will they will they drink?
Totally.
Um, so I think that, having to learn how to set expectations with artist teams ahead of time, and and communicate and offer up, I'm happy to do the posting for you, whatever it is, but finding
Mhm.
ways to really be able to be efficient in a social role when you have deadlines, and when you have big, big announcements, and keeping things on schedule is important. And I think that that was really helpful for me when I came to UMG, and having those experiences. But as I said before, is like social is always changing, and what I was
Mhm.
doing and some of my other roles, are obsolete now.
Right.
But I think, I think community management is always a super important thing that I learned early on. One of my first jobs was at an all social media agency called Ignite Social Media.
Hmm.
And it really shaped me and my career. And, it taught me a lot of the importance of community building and being a community manager, and how that can really lead to growth, and making sure you're engaging with the comments, liking people's posts,
Hmm.
commenting on other labels or artist posts, to help sort of build that community through community engagement. So that was like a big learning for me.
Totally. I love that. Um, we have a question from Ben Robinson. He says, "Love you guys. What motivate?" That's
Hi,
his question. That's
Ben.
it. Yes. Hi, Ben. We love Ben. He said, "Love you guys. What motivates you to stay persistent towards developing your role in the music industry?"
Oh, wow, that's a good question.
Of course. He asked a great
I mean,
one.
honestly, the music. Like, I love to push forward these beautiful songs and these amazing artists that are
Hmm.
really making us all feel something in this day and age. And it's
Hmm.
something, music is the great unifier, and it's bringing us all together. And it's such a beautiful thing. And I think that from a personal perspective is that really helping push the music and helping shape these artists, and give exposure to these artists that are helping bring us all together, like, motivates me
Hmm.
to be better at my job, because I believe in the music so much. And also, I think, like, I love working for Jody. She's super
Hmm.
inspirational, and she's always championing me and pushing me to be better. How can I think outside the box? She trusts me, but also pushes me. And so
Hmm.
I think she's a huge motivator for me in, evolving and pushing forward to be the best version of myself,
Hmm.
personally and in my career.
Ugh, I love that, like, warmed my heart. That was like the best answer ever. That was so good. I mean, you're right. At the core of it, like, the reason we're all here is because of music. And I think that's just why I love being in the industry in general and meeting other people, both at UMG and just working in music in general, because like everyone's just here because they love music and they're
Yeah.
passionate about music. And, it's just like, it's a fun thing to be doing,
Yeah.
and like the connection of music to people, everyone listens to music. I feel like you, everyone, it's touching everyone's lives, it's inspiring everyone, it's connecting everyone. So that was like that warmed my heart. That was a really beautiful
Good
answer.
question,
We have
Ben. We love you.
Ben, we love you. If we could ring you in right now, we totally would. I would have your face right here. But okay, we have one last chat question before we move on to the rest. From Illusion Hill Salex again. For someone early in their career trying to grow in the social media and content space, what would you recommend focusing on in terms of self-education or tools to really build a strong foundation?
I think, being curious, scrappy, trying new things, not being scared to try new things. I would say make sure you're learning each platform, and you're really like enveloped in each of them, and learning how to use them, how to play up the algorithm, making sure
Mhm.
that you are tapping into some of these trends. And I find that trends, again, are, I like to lean into trends that are focused on the music, and I always look at like the back end of TikTok creative suite and see what songs are
Mhm.
trending every day, and what songs have jumped significantly on any given day, and finding those songs that are having momentum, and what does that song represent? What does that song make you
Yeah.
feel? How can that relate to you personally as an artist, or, you know, as a creator? It's really looking at, I like to keep songs at the forefront and back into a lot of strategy based on what are these songs that are having key moments, and how can I make and humanize them and make them relevant for, you know, our channels or myself,
Mhm.
putting that lens on if I was a creator.
Totally.
Yeah, but just like it's making sure you're following some of those accounts and learning. Labels are great to follow. They're really taking the charge on a lot of things. So education and just staying on top of it is important.
Totally. Because as much of it is throwing spaghetti at the wall, it's still about educating yourself, staying consistent, and like having that common goal at the end of the day. So that's great advice. So looking back, what has been a defining moment or lesson that really shaped your path and led you to where you are today?
I definitely think like when I look back, I'm so proud of hitting 1 million followers. It's sort of my favorite.
Yes.
Like I
Oh,
waited for that for so long, and when we were
mm-hmm.
on the cusp, I was obsessive looking at our numbers, being like, we're 5,000 away, and really pushing my strategy to be like, we need growth and follower growth ASAP because I wanted to hit
Mm-hmm.
that number, and that number was such a motivation to me. And so that really pushed me. And so when we finally hit it, my boss had got a nice cake. My team threw a whole
Oh.
celebration. So that was like such a nice moment for me from like a
Mm-hmm.
career standpoint. And then I think like a lesson is really trying to find the balance between creativity and data, and being able to
Mm-hmm.
understand what the numbers behind my posts mean and how I can use that information to drive my strategy and to help build
Totally.
audiences. Um, and also, I think I touched on this before, but really learning how to communicate socials and the impact and the value of socials to
Mm-hmm.
leadership, and how that all, telling that story and breaking things down into layman's terms for them so that they really are understanding that social is important, and people are social is often the very first touch point that people and consumers have with us. Not even
Mm-hmm.
just consumers, but I think also artists. Like if artists are looking to sign, if artists are shopping around for deals, the reality is that they're looking at our socials. And
Totally.
I'm
Mm-hmm.
always proud because UMG has more followers than all of the other major labels. So
Yes, exactly.
I
Yep.
I hope that like has played a part in some things that I haven't even seen or felt, but you
Mm-hmm.
know it's just really driving forth that impact, and learning data and how that can shape my strategy to help keeping pushing us forward.
Definitely. And always just remaining curious and asking that why. I loved that point that you
Yeah.
made. It's just like the data is not just there because it's there. Like there's a reason for it. And like, what can I do to shift and make change?
Yeah.
To just wrap everything up, for the people watching who want to break into digital marketing or communications, what advice would you give them for standing out in such a competitive field?
I think it's important to develop your taste, right? I
Yeah.
think that
Mm-hmm.
the space of social is always changing, but if you have good taste, that will translate across platforms for the foreseeable future. I think
Mm-hmm.
making sure that you are learning different tools, like I'm a CapCut ninja, so learning things
Trust.
like making sure that you are learning these soft skills of
Mm-hmm.
editing, of Photoshop, of graphic design, things of that nature, because that will stick with you throughout your career and will be helpful, and having this toolbox of things that you can do in terms of creating content, and being better at that, and then also learning the importance of the data and driving force of that strategy.
Absolutely. That is such great advice. And I'm sure everyone watching is writing that down vigorously. I love it. Okay. So before we wrap up officially, I'd like to play a quick round of rapid fire. So I'll ask you a question and you say the first thing that comes to mind
Okay,
as quick as you can. Okay. Are you ready?
get ready.
What is one artist you have on repeat right now?
Olivia Dean, Art of
Girl, I
Loving.
knew you were going to say that. Yes,
Sun
me
up to
too. I agree.
sundown.
I love it. Ugh. Okay. Instagram Reels or TikTok?
TikTok, TikTok,
TikTok. I feel that.
TikTok.
We're aligned. We're aligned. Okay. What would be your dream artist collaboration? Two UMG artists, any of them?
Oof.
That's a hard one.
I mean, I have a dream collab. It's not necessarily just UMG, but it would be Olivia
Okay, that's
Dean
valid.
and
Okay.
Ray. I love Ray as
Ooh,
well. They're amazing.
love.
I would also like, my dream would be like an Olivia Dean, Diana Ross moment would be,
Oh my gosh. That would be incredible. Let's manifest both of those to
yeah,
happen. I
you
think that would be
know?
amazing.
Yeah.
I love it. So good. Okay, what is one word to describe UMG?
I would say, oh, that's a good one. Um, I would say one word to describe UMG would be unified, because we're such a
Love.
huge global company, and the music is the common denominator of everything we do, and we put our love into the music and our artists and building them up
Hmm.
and sharing their stories. So and that's one thing I love about working here, is that I get to work with every label, every team,
Hmm.
whether it's the sync team or the A&Rs. I feel that everybody works very well together, and there aren't a lot of silos happening, which can easily happen in big companies that are so
Hmm.
global and large at scale. So I think unified is like a really good word for
I love that.
describing us.
Oh, well, I think that is the perfect way to wrap this up. Taylor, thank you so much for joining us today. This was such an inspiring conversation for both me and the listeners. I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to us today. And thank you, everyone in the chat, for tuning in and asking such amazing questions. Be sure to follow 1824 and 3.5 for more behind the business episodes right here on Twitch, and subscribe to our YouTube channel so you can listen back to the full episodes. All right. Thank you guys, and thank you, Taylor.
Bye. Thanks for tuning
Bye.
in.